In her book, Good Food, Grounded Practical Theology, Jen Ayers writes, "In shared meals, God's presence is revealed. In Luke 24, it was only after sharing a meal with the risen Christ that the disciples recognized the divine in their midst." So what is communion, or Mass, or Eucharist, or the Lord's Supper, whatever you grew up hearing it as? What actually happens? Different faith traditions have different responses to these questions. Many of us have grown up being prompted to make ourselves worthy for the sacrifice of Jesus represented by the bread and the cup. Of course, we're not worthy in that sense, and so we find ourselves in a position of beating ourselves up morally and spiritually because we're so evil that God had to kill God's own Son to appease God's own wrath. And then we have seemingly no alternative but to glorify this act of violence. But that's not enough either. We also need to make sure that others know how bad they are too. We gatekeep, we judge, we compete. We buy into the lie that God's love is limited, that there isn't enough to go around. This makes sense if God really is so angry at us. But what if Jesus wasn't sacrificed by God in order to appease God's wrath against us? What if Jesus' death is an act of self-sacrifice that reveals the corruption of religious institutions? In this case, the lust for blood and violence is ours, not God's. Because Jesus refused to participate in religion as power and the domination of others by use of force, he's killed or scapegoated. And God's response is to raise Jesus from the dead, the ultimate affirmation of Jesus' way of life as one of service to others. This means that when we participate in this meal, we are also laying aside our own greed, our own thirst for power, our own ego, and our need to assure ourselves of our goodness and worth by excluding those that we deem unworthy. And instead, we proclaim with Jesus the good news that, as Neuchterlein writes, brings with it a power to live in new ways. Now hang with me for just one more second, because I don't like throwing out words like grace and sacrament without actually talking about what they are. Grace, I think, is best understood as the real felt presence of God. And a sacrament is a material or tangible object, like a piece of bread, that communicates or makes us aware of God's presence. So we might say that communion is a sacrament because through the act of sharing a meal, of feeding one another and receiving nourishment, we experience the presence of God and are bound to each other. Jen Ayers says this, quote, "To say that the Eucharist reveals our interconnectedness is to say that at the table, we also learn something about what it means to be human. We are members of Christ's body, of the gathered community, of the global communion, and indeed members of creation." End quote. We are called to serve one another and to serve, keep, and till the land and care for all creation. This is what we sometimes call stewardship in the church. And that's why we're starting this month of focus on stewardship and whole life giving with this special service of communion. Communion is a ritual meal that nourishes us on this journey of discipleship and stewardship. As we move ever so closely toward Jesus as the center of our faith, we become servants of one another and the world so that all might flourish, just like in the video we watched a little bit ago, called The Allegory of the Long Spoons. This is why celebrating communion is so vitally important. And now please join with me in our communion liturgy that will be on the screens. At the table of Christ, we eat this bread and drink this cup to remember the life and death and resurrection of Jesus, to be united with Christ and with one another as the church, and to look toward a time when all will be one. As we eat and drink with thanksgiving, Jesus Christ is present with us, and we are empowered by the Spirit to follow Jesus' way of love as the broken body of Christ, broken and blessed for the life of the world. Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "When you share bread together, remember me." Together, blessed are you. Jesus took the cup after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant. When you drink it together, remember me." Together. Amen. So, friends, I invite you now to this banquet table, where all are welcome to taste the goodness and abundance of God, where we are fed and nourished for living lives of service to one another, where we recognize our interdependence with all of creation and are moved to steward these gifts well. By eating and drinking in this manner, we become the body of Christ that in turn loves, feeds, and serves the world. This is the body of Christ, the bread of heaven. This is the blood of Christ, the cup of salvation. Let us eat and drink joyfully together.